Behind me is the highest mileage V10 turbo diesel Touareg I could find to buy. Here is my 2007 VW Touareg. It's got the V10 turbo diesel. I was kind of searching one of these out for a while, and for the challenge I decided to buy the highest mile one I could find. This one's got 226,000 miles on it, which means someone has probably spent twice what it costs new to keep this thing on the road. This one is going to be used to tow the 914 and the 944 around. Should have plenty of power. Has a couple running issues right now that will get sorted. But surprisingly, this thing's pretty clean for the miles. These have some neat options for 2007. This one's got nav, backup camera. But the thing I was looking for was the self-leveling suspension. So this has air ride on all four corners. Should help with towing. This one also already has the trailer brakes hooked up. And I keep the handy VAGCOM here all the time because it's always broken. So I'll pop around in the back here. Yep, got to unlock it. There's some extra parts from taking it apart. Got the 110 plug in the back. This one's got the power lift gate that kind of works. Works shutting. See if we can get it to work now. Why would it open? Oh, there we go. Okay. We'll take it for a spin. Currently has a set of 22-inch Audi Q7 reps on it. I had those laying around, so I tossed them on as the tires that came with it were corded. So, a little different look. It'll probably end up, I have a set of second-gen Touareg 20-inch wheels, and we'll probably put a 32-inch all-terrain on those. Alright, so we're going to take the Touareg for a little spin, and I'll kind of explain my thought process on what led me to getting a V10 TDI one. Essentially, I wanted something relatively inexpensive to haul the 914 and the 944 around. Criteria was something that could tow 5,000 pounds. Didn't want a full-size truck. Wanted something that was relatively comfortable to drive outside of towing. And then it had to be German, being that's what I deal in every day. So that kind of narrowed it down to a few selections in my mind. That was looking at a BMW X5, Mercedes ML, and Volkswagen Touareg, maybe a Q7. Outlier on a Mercedes GL, but those are still a little too pricey to have just for my purpose. Don't really like the ML, so it would have had to been an ML63, and I believe those were only rated at 5,000 pounds towing. Blast to drive, though. X5 would have been looking at probably a 4.8 Sport E53 or getting into an E70 4.8. That would have been alright, would have been fine with that. Touareg would have been looking at a 4.2 or TDI. What I would have liked to get was a second gen with the 3-liter diesel, but the little TDI recall scandal kind of screwed with that. Messed the market up on those, so that was out. So I kind of landed on the V10 TDI, they're not known for being cost effective on maintenance, but that also makes it a little fun in my eyes to see what actually goes wrong. And then they got, I think it's 310 horsepower, 550 pound-feet of torque, so that was pretty appealing. That, and they drive nice. Touaregs have a different feel on the road. BMWs are a little stiff, a little jittery. Not a big fan of the MLs in general. These just feel real solid. They feel planted going down the highway. The other thing I liked with this is with the 4.2s and the 5.0 TDI, there's a good chance it's going to end up with the auto leveling suspension, which is nice to have. Plan on lifting it a little bit and putting an upsize all-terrain tire on it, so having the air suspension make that easier. We'll just either play with links or play with it in bag comp. And then with the towing, help with the load leveling in the back. And then what led me to this one in particular is I tend to like getting cheap outliers, something with a lot of miles, just for the entertainment or the experience value, to see what goes wrong with them. This one has 226,000 miles on it right now. So realistically, what I saved is probably going to end up costing me in maintenance versus buying a 110, 120,000 mile one. But it'll be a little more fun to watch and see what happens. This one stood out. I like the color. Not a big fan of tan interior, but when you're looking for the highest mileage one you can find, you don't really get to pick that. Big thing on this one is the body's clean, no rust issues, which is an issue where we're at in the Midwest. And then, see if I can pop the light on here. The other thing is, the first gen Touaregs are notorious for wearing all the buttons with the soft touch wearing off, so it shows white or shows the light through. That's big with the window switches, steering wheel, the radio. This one is very nice shape in that respect, so that was big on that. Didn't have to go through and replace all that stuff. This one also has backup camera, navigation, which is nice. So that was big. The mechanical side, it runs pretty decent. It's got a little rough idle. Not as concerned about that because we'll play with it anyways. So the big thing was the body, interior shape, and that's what this one has going for it. I believe this one was a 3-owner. 2 long-term owners and 1 short as the third. Being it's made it this far, I'm assuming the maintenance was pretty well kept up. We're going to end up having to do a few things. This one will end up with a tune in the future, and then I'm sure at some point in time it'll also end up with the engine out, so we'll show you that process. Not going to do anything too fancy with it, but we'll play with it here and there. But yeah, I got a set of factory 20-inch wheels off a 2nd gen TDI Touareg. Those will end up on here. Looking at 275 5520 all-terrain tire, and then we'll probably have to play with the height calibration a little bit in VAGCOM to make that all happy. But it drives pretty nice. Air suspension all works. A little finicky here and there on that. Has the center lock differential in case I want to go off-road. The V10 is extremely smooth and nice linear power band. With the 550 pound-feet of torque, it's got plenty of get up. I was actually really impressed the first time I drove this one. It's not quite as nice in the corners as an X5 would have been. Those are pretty good for an SUV. But it's not bad, little body roll, but it is a 6,000 pound rig, so what do you expect there? I don't know if the camera will pick it up. It's got a little rough idle, a little low in the idle. Comes up with a cylinder 2 misfire. So we'll have to get in there, figure out what's going on there. These are a pump deuce motor, so they are known to wear the camshafts if it has had the wrong oil used in it. And with 226,000 miles, that's a lot of oil changes in its lifetime, and there's a good chance that sometime or another it hasn't had the correct spec oil. So that's a possibility. It also has a tandem pump leaking, so we'll address that. Yeah, do a little takeoff here. It's got some pretty good power. Very smooth, doesn't make a lot of noise. We'll probably play with the exhaust a little bit, give it a little more tone. But overall, pretty pleased with it. Pretty impressed. For 226,000 miles, the chassis is very tight feeling on it. So I'm impressed with how that aged. And we'll get some of the running issues sorted out. And if you want to stick around to see what it costs and see what we have to do to keep this thing on the road, hit the subscribe button down below. And thanks for watching, guys.